Alright guys, so this Kawasaki ZZR1400, as a lot of you know already, I bought used. But was that the right thing to do, or should I have bought it from new? Well, to be honest, I don't know. For me, I think it was the right decision, but a lot of it is going to depend on the bike, where you live, the mileage, the weather. There's a lot of reasons why you might prefer to buy new over used, and that's exactly what we're going to discuss in today's video, is whether or not buying used is really worth it. Let's jump on, let's go for a ride. Oh man, that was so embarrassing. That was me just shooting the intro for this video and just a bloke just comes walking out this way, walking his dogs. He probably thought I was mad. So embarrassing. Hi there. Sorry, I'm just shooting a video, I'm not talking to myself. Honestly, that's one of the most annoying things about motovlogging, because you're on your own. Just looks like you're a mad person, just talking to yourself. Alright, anyway guys, yeah, let's jump on the wicked ZZR, let's go for a ride. And, well, I have bought both new and used motorcycles, so I'm going to kind of give you, well, what I've experienced buying both. And, I mean, to be honest, buying used is pretty good, I've found, overall, when it comes to motorcycles. As long as you know what you're looking for, I think, or what you're looking at, you know, if you know that you're buying something decent, then you should be okay. I mean, these kinds of bikes are still expensive, even if you are buying used. But, I mean, even then, I still think it was a good deal, considering how much one of these bikes is brand new. And I mean, that's the main motivation, isn't it, behind buying a used bike, if we're being honest with ourselves, is that, you know, we want to save a little bit of cash. Tell you what, it's a nice day for filming today, though. Yeah, definitely a nice day. It's a bit cold, but at least it's dry for a change. Yeah. Alright, let's get out of here, because I don't want to see that guy again walking his dogs. That was so embarrassing, man. I think I've ran into that guy before as well. I think when the wifey and I were shooting a video together, I think we saw him, and I think they were a bit concerned. Alright guys, so yeah, buying used over new, you know, is it worth it? Well, look, I have no doubt that you're going to hear some horror stories of riders buying used motorcycles, and, you know, they're just blowing up and things like that. But usually, for the most part, if you buy from a reputable brand, if you buy from the big four, if you buy from Honda, Suzuki, Yamaha and Kawasaki, you should be okay buying used. But that's not to say that you've got good eggs and you've got bad eggs, you know. That's still the case with even the reputable brands. I mean, we've had it here before. Some of our viewers have had these, you know, really good used bikes, or at least from reputation that they're good, and they end up blowing up. Something goes wrong, and I know that in some instances you'd never ever know what was wrong with the bike, and then something just goes and it just takes the whole engine out with it. You know, sometimes that happens, unfortunately. People have said about this ZZR. There was one viewer that said that it was misfiring off of one cylinder, or one cylinder had gone. And I mean, we were kind of discussing, I hadn't really thought about it, but we were kind of discussing what it could be on our live show once, and they thought it could be a bad spark plug, which I think probably sounds about right. But I don't know, I'm not a mechanic, so I couldn't really advise this person as much as I would have liked to. But these things can happen, guys. I'm not going to lie to you, these things can happen no matter what bike you buy. But you can hedge your bets quite a lot. And if you're going for one of the big four, then that's a step in the right direction. Even companies that you think would be reputable, would be good, like BMW. BMW motorcycles have a reputation for having problems. Gearbox problems, engine problems, the list goes on. And it seems to happen more to BMW than any of the other Japanese brands. But I think that's just European brands in general. They don't have as good a reputation for reliability as the Japanese brands, which is a shame. But so that's why I wouldn't buy BMW. If it were me, I wouldn't buy BMW. But yeah, I mean, buying a motorcycle, buying cars, like anything, if you're buying it used, it can be a bit of a minefield. I usually have a certain set of rules that I like to stick to when I'm buying a used bike. Now, we do have a video about what to look out for when you are buying a used motorcycle, what things you should kind of keep an eye on. You know, don't look at the bike and be like, oh yeah, it's my favorite bike ever, I really, really want it. Don't kind of think like that, as hard as that is. I know that feeling. Be critical of the bike. But I'll leave that linked up in the top corner for you to watch afterwards to give you a little bit of an idea of what you probably should look out for and how you should prepare when buying a used motorcycle, what kind of research you should do and all that stuff. But I mean, this isn't really that kind of video anyway, so. But my rules are usually dependent on budget. So if I have a budget of, say, I don't know, £4,000, let's say, well, I'm going to make a judgment call on how much mileage I think that bike should have and what condition I think that bike should be in. Now, of course, depending on the bike itself, if it is a more highly sought after motorcycle, then it's going to demand more money. So you might have to get one that is outside of your rules. Usually, motorcycles that are over 30,000 miles, I usually stay away from, even though you can get absolute gems of motorcycles well over 30, 40,000 miles because they've been looked after. But again, the more mileage that's been done on the bike, you don't know how much wear has happened, you don't know necessarily the service history of the bike, you don't know how it's been treated. So for me, as a rule of thumb, I try to stick to under 30k miles if I can help it. For me, the biggest risk I ever took was buying that ZX-14R. It was from 2003 and it had done just under 30,000 miles. It was 28,000 miles, I think it was, when I bought it. When I sold it, it had just over 32,000 miles, I think. And, you know, it's a ticking time bomb when you think about it. So, yeah. And as well, I mean, the reason why that bike was also a risk was because it is a sport bike. It's an old sport bike that's done a lot of miles. So almost everyone, you can pretty much guarantee that almost anyone that has ridden that bike has redlined it. But then again, those motorcycles are built to be in those higher RPMs. That's where their power band is, that's where the manufacturers know most riders are going to want to be on a motorcycle like that. So I don't know this for a fact, but I'm sure that they have built the engines to withstand a little bit more punishment at higher RPMs. Not like this bike. If you run this bike at 11,000 RPM all day, then it's not going to last very long. But sport bikes, race bikes, they are designed to be in those higher RPMs anyway. So as much as, you know, people redline them, and even me, I redlined that CBR a couple of times. And I mean, maybe because it was just an old bike and I was like, nah, whatever. You know, it's a bit of fun, innit? But yeah, that's honestly, that's the biggest risk I ever took buying a motorcycle. But I still didn't regret it because hardly anything was wrong with it. There was one thing that went wrong with it that kind of really spooked me. And like all the lights went out on it, all the dashboard lights and everything. And this was at night time as well. But yeah, all the lights went out on it, the dashboard lights went out, and I think even my speedometer and rev meter went out. And I had to get the bike back home without any lights. in the dark, and I wasn't too far away from home. I was about half hour away, but still, it's a pretty scary thing. I did try looking at it when I was, I pulled over and had a look, see if I could fix it, but I didn't have any tools on me. There was nothing I could have done to fix that bike. But in the end, when I got home, I checked the fuses, and yeah, it was a simple fuse that had blown. Plugged in a brand new fuse, Bob's your uncle, it was sorted. So even with bikes like that, a lot of the time, if something goes wrong, it's just something small, a lot of the time. It's not catastrophic, It's always a good rule of thumb as well to do your own service on the bike, or at least get the bike serviced after you've bought it, if it is a fairly old bike. Even then, even if it's fairly new, I'd still get it serviced. If you don't know how to service it yourself, go and get it serviced, because it's just gives you a peace of mind, doesn't it? You get to have a look at the condition of the oil, whether or not there are any metal shavings in the oil, things like that. So it's just something to keep in mind. But for me personally, here in the UK, buying used has been a pretty good ride for me. I'm not gonna lie. As much as I want to recommend people buy new, I can't recommend it really, not in the UK at least anyway, because we do have poor weather sometimes that can rust up a motorcycle. Like right now I'm riding in the winter, definitely not the best idea, but a lot of people are winter riders, and you can just turn your bikes into absolute rust buckets if you're not careful, and again, if they're not looked after. So more often than not, buying a used motorcycle here in the UK is probably going to be alright. It's not extremely hot temperatures, it's not extremely cold temperatures. I think around here, the coldest it's ever gotten in my lifetime has been, I don't know, maybe minus 4 or 5 degrees Celsius, which isn't that bad. It's not that cold really. For a motorcycle, it's not that cold. But I wouldn't be riding in that kind of weather anyway. But in storage, I mean, if it's in storage, it's going to be all right. But just for context, depending on which part of the world you live in, if you do live in Canada or maybe in a Scandinavian country, Iceland, if you live in those kinds of countries, then maybe you have to think a little bit harder about buying a used bike. Just because the conditions might be totally different. There could be more conditions for getting into crashes, things like that, damaging the bike. I kind of went off on a bit of a tangent there, but I can only talk of the UK really, because I haven't lived in another country where conditions are more extreme than the UK, so I can't really say an awful lot about living somewhere else. But let me know if you live in one of these countries. I don't know, if you live in Australia, for example, what do you need to look out for if you live in Australia? Do you have to look at the air filters a little bit more? Is there more dust? Things like that? I don't know. Definitely let me know down in the comments what the conditions are like in the country that you live in, and what considerations you probably should have when you're looking to buy a used motorcycle out there. But let me go back onto my rules just a moment here. So, I said anything under 30,000 miles, but again, that depends on things like service history. Does the bike have service history? Does the bike look in good condition? Does it look like it's been looked after? Does it have any, I don't know, anything that's odd about it? That's one of the things that I would say is that even if you don't decide to buy it, if you look in a local dealership and look at the bike that you are looking to buy, an exact model of the same bike that you're looking to buy, it doesn't have to be that bike, but turn it on, maybe give it a test ride, so you know what it should be like, you know what it should sound like, you know how it should ride like, and if anything like that is off when you actually come to buy the one you're actually looking at, seriously buying, then you'll know whether or not you should stay or walk away. If there's anything odd about it, then I'd walk away. And unless you are looking for a bike that you're looking to fix up yourself a little bit, then it isn't worth it, guys. Just walk away. It's definitely more fun riding your bikes than it is fixing them. Yeah. So if you're like me and you want to ride the bike, you don't want to have to worry about it so much, you just want to do basic maintenance on it, then yeah, walk away from motorcycles like that. But in terms of age as well, I usually have rules for age. If I'm looking for a bike that is reliable, I'm not taking a risk, if I'm trying to play it really safe, or as safe as possible, then I will look at motorcycles that are no more than maybe 5 to 6 years old. Now I know that sounds quite restrictive, but again, this does depend on the motorcycle. It all depends on context. If you're looking at sport bikes and you're looking to spend £4,000 on a sport bike, then you have to look older. Simple as that. Unless you get really lucky on a deal, you have to look older than that. You might have to look at the mid-2000s, early 2010s, maybe, if you're lucky. But it really does depend on the motorcycle that you are looking to buy. If you're looking to buy a sport tourer, then you can definitely look newish, within 5 years. 5 years old with less than 5,000 miles on it, if you're looking for a decent sport tourer. Oh man, I've come down this road before. I don't know why I've done this again, but... But anyway, guys, yeah, give yourselves a set of rules to follow. Man, I don't like this road at all. It's really steep and it's really wet and grimy and muddy. Might have to just pull over when I get the opportunity here to finish off today's video, because I don't like the ditch either. I don't want to be in the middle of the road because that's where the most grime is. I'm gonna struggle to find brakes if I'm not careful on this road. Yeah, even like all this water is washing away the road, man. Just eroding the road because there's no drainage. Oh man, I make this mistake every time. It's so annoying. But yeah, give yourself a set of rules that are reasonable, but rules where you're not gonna break them. You know, if it's close, then you can consider it there and then at the time, can't you? Right, I'm gonna just stop here. I'll stop down there because there's a dead end down here. What was I saying? Yeah, just stick to your rules. Create a set of rules. Stick to them. Do research on the bike beforehand. You know, look at what kind of issues the bike normally would have at a particular age time. Look at forums, things like that. Forums can be a real help when you're buying used motorcycles, just because they're a really good source of information. Oh dear, just put my boot in mud. Yeah, the things that you should look out for when you're buying a used motorcycle. But anyway, guys, I mean, I know that this kind of year a lot of people are probably going to be looking to buy new motorcycles. We are going to have a video in the near future about when the best time of year is to buy a motorcycle. I mean, this is going to be relating to used, of course, because when you're buying new, it doesn't matter what time of year you buy a motorcycle. But yeah, when the best time of year is to buy a used motorcycle. So definitely subscribe if you don't want to miss that one. Hit that notification bell as well so you don't miss any of our future releases. Check us out on Patreon as well. If you're a long-time viewer and you want to support us directly, then yeah, definitely check us out on Patreon. The link will be down in the video description. You'll get access to our exclusive Discord server as well. But yeah, I hope that this has helped you out, guys, and it's really easy to get caught up in the bike. You know, if you're buying a motorcycle and you really love that bike, it can be really hard sometimes. Yeah, it can be really easy to get brought in by the bike, and it can blind you. And it can happen when you're buying a car as well. So I suppose both things apply, or at least this video applies for both cars and motorcycles in some respect. But yeah, just don't get conned, alright guys. It's a lot of the best deals that you'll find on used motorcycles are private ones, but at the same time you don't want to get conned. So just keep your wits about you, and try to get to know as much about what you're buying before you buy it. I think that's the best advice that I can give you, and that's especially true if you are a newer rider or someone who's looking to buy their very first motorcycle. But anyway, guys and gals, yeah, like I said, I hope this video has helped you out, and Happy New Year to all of you, new subscribers, new viewers. Happy New Year to you all. I hope you had a fantastic Christmas and Christmas holiday. I hope you had lots of amazing food and drink and all that good stuff. Let me know what you guys got up to down in the comment section below. And yeah, we will catch you all in the next video. Here is to 2023. Have a good one, guys.